27-yard try for Mitch Jeter, and it's not a fake. And he hit the left upright. It's no good.
Sean McDonough, ESPN Radio. Yeah, down 31-15 in the fourth quarter with just minutes left. Marcus Freeman on 4th and goal decides to kick a short field goal because, you know, when you're down 16, you definitely got to go down 13.
If you can make a two-score game, you jump at that opportunity.
I don't know if there was more universal reaction of, you deserve that.
Yes.
Screw you.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Only person, to my knowledge, that's defended that decision is Harry Douglas of ESPN.
What was the theory? What was the argument? Do we know? What
You
was
know-
he?
People forget Ohio State's goal line defense is the best in the country.
Okay. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard was 27 touchdowns and no interceptions in the red zone this year. No,
What?
By the way, on that drive as well, Notre Dame got 2 different defensive pass interference or holding calls that gave them automatic first downs. And on a 4th and 9, you don't need to score a touchdown. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You get a holding call in the secondary, it's half the distance of the goal and an automatic first down, at which point you can run the football. That was great effort to come back and make it a game in the second half. Thank you for at least a semi-entertaining 20 minutes of football last night. That was one of the worst coaching decisions that I have ever seen.
It absolutely
There's
is
not
out there.
there's no
There's
argument
defense.
that you can make that defends kicking a field goal to go down by 13. When your defense, by the way, on the first 5 drives of the game for Ohio State, if Will Howard doesn't miss a wide open receiver in the end zone, would have scored a touchdown on all 5 drives.
Well, that specific drive, they kick a field goal. If Egbuka doesn't fumble, they're at like the 15-yard line, and they're probably going to score again.
Again, yes.
And make it, 38-15. Like,
Yes.
that game was over.
It was over. That was
And-
your chance. You had a
Yes.
gift from hell because
Yes.
he gave you a fumble. You had an opportunity, and then you decided to kick a field goal.
Ryan Day, 1-4 versus Michigan, 69-6 versus everyone else. What a weird career at Ohio State for that guy.
What a weird year. What a weird season, man. I think this is one of those things that it took me a while, and we can argue about it. And it certainly hurt my fandom last night watching a team that we beat in the regular season win a national title. I think this is going to become one of those things that we got to start getting used to. Like, you can lose big games now, and there's a 12-team playoff. It doesn't matter. The regular season, all the games are still thrilling. All the games are still entertaining. I still am sucked into it every single week, and I love every moment of it. But this is an example of, what that guy went through the week after losing to Michigan. They were firing him. He was done. We all made fun. Everybody mocked him.
Pretty sure I said on the air, would they be mad if they fired him before the playoff?
No, and the Ohio State fans would have been thrilled probably if they would have fired him before the playoff.
Would they have won the playoff without Ryan Day?
Probably. Like if you put Chip Kelly in as head coach and he's calling plays, I'm thinking they're probably still winning a national title. But
Swag's like, I don't know, probably.
Jim Knowles could probably do it too.
It's like a poll question. Would they have won the title
I
if
think
they would have
so.
fired Ryan Day after Michigan?
Throw it to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got a 3rd and 9 game on the line. What's our play call? How about we just throw a jump ball to that
Force
guy?
one-on-one with
Yeah.
no safety
All right.
over the top.
That's going to be an easy completion.
Okay.
God, what was that defense? He kicked a field goal down 16, and he left Jeremiah Smith in one-on-one coverage with no safety.
I think their thought
Well,
was, let's sell out. We got to stop
they
the run,
blitzed.
and we're going to come after him.
God.
And
They
it
sent
didn't work.
7 and nobody got there.
Oh,
But
man.
it's just like we do this in the NFL where teams can lose games and big games, or lose to a horrible. Like in the NFL, you can have that Super Bowl champion can lose to the worst team in the league in the regular season. You're like,
six
whatever.
losses and
Yeah.
still
Buffalo lost by like 25 to the Ravens.
To the Ravens in the regular season, and then they get him in the playoffs and they beat him. So it's one of those things that I think we got to start wrapping our head around. Like that's what college football is going to be now.
I always kind of thought like that's where and it doesn't happen often. I was right and Josh Pate was wrong. I'm sorry. The expansion of the playoff, and people feel different ways about it. Like you may still get the same usual teams that win this whole thing, but you're including more fan bases. There's more interest that way. We're obviously moving to a mini NFL version of the sport anyway. I always thought the notion that like you kind of take something away from I always thought that notion was kind of dumb. Ask Oregon fan the day they beat Ohio State. It doesn't really mean as much. You got an expanded playoff. They didn't think that in the
No, not
moment.
in the
They're like,
moment, not
hell
at
yeah,
all.
we won this game. Ask Buckeye fan walking out of Autzen Stadium or Buckeye fan losing to Michigan. I don't think in the moment they lost to Michigan, they're going, we're still in the playoff.
We'll be okay.
We'll be all right.
Yeah,
In the moment, they're like, they want to burn everything to the ground.
they do.
And so the idea that the expanded playoff was going to take something away from the regular season. I've listened to too much national, like different cities of sports radio in my life to know that every week in the NFL, these fan bases are psychotic. It's like, fire McDermott in Buffalo. What the hell's Jerry Jones doing? Dan Campbell's too aggressive. Fire this guy, fire that guy. And that's like after week 6.
Yeah.
And it's just like those teams are allowed to lose 6-7 games and get to the playoffs. I always thought the notion that the regular season was going to be hurt by an expanded playoff, I always thought that was dumb. You cannot suddenly lose passion because, oh, yeah, you can lose a game or two now. That doesn't matter. When you wait all week for a game, the game means a lot to you.
Yeah, the reaction to it will still be the same. If Ohio State loses in Michigan next year, their fan base will have the same reaction, despite the fact that they just won a national title, and maybe they win another one next year. I don't know. I got to go look through who they have coming back. It was one of those games where the opening drive, it reminded me kind of the Buffalo and Denver wildcard game, where you get that opening touchdown from Denver, from Bo, that long touchdown pass to Troy Franklin, and you're like, man, all right, maybe there's something here. This could be good. Look at that opening drive touchdown. What a way to start the game. And then you look up and it's 31-7. And it just snowballed from there. This came from the award-winning Dusty Hera on Twitter last night. Hell of a stat. Notre Dame went 18 plays, 75 yards, scored on their opening drive. Their next first down came with 6:45 to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, they didn't get
a first
forever.
down until basically the third quarter was over.
That was kind of my only thing because we were texting and I'm like, that was crazy dominant the way they did that. As they noted on the broadcast, Fowler, I think, said it. Leonard at the goal line was a yard short and he was wobbling getting up, and Fowler's like, they're running him a lot here. And my only thought in the moment was, this is really impressive. I don't know how sustainable this is to just keep running the quarterback dive and hope Riley Leonard gets 4 to 5 every carry.
Not going to happen.
It turns out it wasn't very sustainable. They did make it interesting. I want to play this very quickly because I didn't hear the explanation of the postgame. This was Marcus Freeman and why he decided to kick that field goal.
Yeah, I think it was 4th and 9 or 10. And I just thought, instead of being down 16, let's try to go down 13. And I know it's still a 2-score game, but you have a better probability of getting 14 points than you do 16 points. And so if it was a shorter fourth and goal situation, I probably would have gone for it. But I just felt 4th and 9 was not a great chance for us to make that. And, and decided to kick it, and we didn't make it.
We said Ohio State we thought was going to win this game, and they did come back, Notre Dame, and made it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's some interesting bad calls yesterday as a coach, but again, he had a great year.
Unbelievable year.
Notre Dame has nothing but to feel happiness about what's happening right now over there in South Bend, and we'll see what they are next year without Riley Leonard. But that decision, the fake punt, I mean, who wasn't sitting in the living room going, they're faking this?
Yeah, this is going to be a fake.
Like, I didn't even see that the backup quarterback was in front of the punter. In my mind, I'm like, if I'm Ohio State, I'm running just a defense that's ready for that.
Yeah.
Now, the kid dropped the ball, but it didn't work.
It was well defended. I mean, they were all over it.
It was right there on him. So
Yeah.
I just, there were a couple moments yesterday where I'm just like, what's going on there?
Yeah, look, I mean, I appreciate the answer of saying that's, I understand the theory of being, scoring 14 is easier than scoring 16. I would have said, Coach, you're not going to have a chance to score 14 points the way Ohio State's offense has operated the majority of the night. Like, you have maybe one more crack at this. And so you take your shot on 4th and 9, you could get a defensive penalty. And even if you don't get it there, you end up giving them the ball on their own 9-yard line. Maybe you force a quick 3 and out and you get the ball back at midfield. You can play a little field position game there. Like, missing the field goal just made it a double whammy, even worse decision. I didn't quite comprehend that. And the fake punt one, I'm glad you brought it up because that was one. I yelled the same thing at the TV, like, this is going to be a fake.
He clearly wanted to go for it, and then he he hesitated, and it was just like, this is weird. This feels like a fake.
Why don't you? And then they put the backup quarterback in as, in the punt coverage, which was obvious tell of that guy's usually not in on punt team. And Ohio State's going to be able to identify that. Those are the ones of, like, when you're going, just go for it. Like, would you rather have your backup quarterback or your starting quarterback throw that pass or run that ball? Or, like, I think it was 4th and 3, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it was a shorter yardage throw.
It was 4th and 2.
4th and 2. Thank you.
and
Like,
2.
dude, just run Riley Leonard. Find something there. Like that. Those ones were we can be critical of. The reason they lost the game though was not coaching decisions. The reason they lost the game is Ohio State's the best team in the country.
They had the best roster in football,
and they've been
no
the
doubt.
best team in the country all year. And it just took them a long time to figure it out. Not that they had a terrible regular season, but that Michigan loss awoken something in them of finding their new identity, coming together as a team. And they went on a hell of a run and won the most legitimate national title that we've ever seen because they had to go through Tennessee, an undefeated Oregon team, Texas in their own backyard in Texas, and then this Cinderella Notre Dame team that kind of came out of nowhere from the other side of the bracket. That was a legitimate title run. But the reason Notre Dame lost was because Ohio State just has more horses than them.
I just also, what did you see from your defense all night that said, oh, we go down 13, we got a shot still? Like,
their
your defense
defense
was getting carved up.
They had to play elite last night, and they couldn't get a stop.
I mean, that's an amazing offense. I'm not trying to bag them. They had a great season. Ohio State was a juggernaut at that point.
And the most telling side of the game that Notre Dame just couldn't simply have, and we talked about it last week, their non-quarterbacks running the ball, their running backs combined for, what would it be, 7 carries, for 17 yards.
The non-Riley
Leonard. So Riley Leonard had 17 carries for 40
Their
yards.
offense was running. They
could not run the
had a
football.
good night, but they couldn't run the football.
No, and them throwing the ball is not a consistent thing that they can lean on, and that showed until the second half.